What's worse, desperately trying to open people's eyes up to an obvious impending catastrophe, but looking on in dismay as they refuse to listen, or watch as they finally do realise the looming and obvious catastrophe, but refuse to do anything about it. That's what I want to touch on in today's video. Before I start with this content, I just want to pay my respects to Prince Philip, who died yesterday. You know, a member of the royal family who really did do his duty by his country. So rest in peace, Prince Philip. That's my little tribute. Okay, so to just go back over what I just talked about at the start, I am just coming off the back of three or four really difficult, traumatic days where I know a lot of people can relate to this, where everything just seems so big and so hopeless. And for me, the issue has always been, for me, the difficulty I've had in emotionally processing what's going on is not the situation itself. It's not the fact that we are living in a world of tyranny and oppression and coercion. It's not that we're living in a time when we're transitioning away from a free and liberal and democratic society to one that is authoritarian. My massive problem has always been watching people's reaction or lack of reaction and the resultant impact it's had on my own well-being, because my faith in human nature it's just clinging on by my fingernails now, really. That's what I've struggled with, because you only need to look back through history, through the realms of human civilization, to realise that you're more likely to live in a time of catastrophe than a time of when everything is good. And it's about how you react to that. It's about how the society of the time reacts and what they do to rescue themselves. And the answer largely here seems to be absolutely nothing. So, you know, I've run out of words really to describe how I feel. I don't know what word there is to describe how the descent into madness that this society has brought upon itself, the levels of insanity, the mental illness is disturbing beyond my comprehension. And the fact that some people still haven't opened their eyes, fast asleep. I feel sorry. Do I feel sorry for those people? Do I feel pity for them? That their minds are no longer their own. The minds are no longer their own. I don't hear their voice. I hear slogans. I hear BBC catchphrases. And despite the fact that that is the minority of people now, the rest, who make up the majority that, you know, are acquiescing, you know, the rest are worse, because to be able to acknowledge an existential problem for us as individuals and for our society, for our world, and to be not prepared to do anything whatsoever about it is appalling. You can make excuses for people who genuinely believe what they're told. You can make an excuse They're susceptible to propaganda, probably because they've largely never really taken the time to examine what their beliefs are, why they hold those beliefs, never really possibly taken the time to identify what their own life values are. They're probably naturally inclined to fall in line with ideologies, to let other people do their thinking for them, which isn't a positive reflection whatsoever on those people. But you can make an excuse because in a way they're powerless to propaganda. As when I talk about propaganda, I think propaganda, as I've alluded to in a previous video, it certainly did affect me as well. And I think the vast majority of people in this country were taken in by propaganda, but the majority of us have now managed to extricate ourselves either fully or to some degree. Hence, we're in the position now where most people realise there's something terribly, terribly wrong. And watching as people pass the buck, absolve themselves of responsibility, try to pretend that it's not anything to do with them, try to pass all the blame onto government or media. And to go back to what I said earlier, if you have, and I strongly believe this, a modicum of understanding of two things, history and how human societies have evolved, and the human condition itself, if you have an understanding as well of the concept and the dynamics of power and how that works, you will realise that if you give too much power, if individuals within society hand over too many of their freedoms, then those freedoms that power will be abused. So then, having made that mistake, and millions of us did, it's incumbent upon us to correct that mistake by seizing back the initiative, seizing back that power, and taking back our freedoms. And it seems that only a tiny percentage of people are willing to do that. So many people's minds are not their own. That much is clear. And the devil is in their head and in their hearts. Their souls have been blackened and their hearts have been darkened. And this is what I'm talking about. To exist in this world at a time, in an era, where human civilization is showing the absolute worst of itself, where humanity is plumbing the depths of morality. It is incredibly traumatic. And sometimes it just gets on top of me. And it's hard to conceive of living in a time of more psychological turmoil than this. It is, who believes that they're in an existential crisis? Who believes that that's what life is, an existential crisis? I strongly believe that. Nothing makes sense in life, but the only way to try to survive and to try to grow through that is to try to find the meaning where we can and try our best to solve our existential crisis. And how do we do that? Well, there's only one way to do it. It means to take responsibility by taking action. And it doesn't really matter what that action is, as long as it's in alignment with some moral code that we've taken the time ourselves to lay out, not let somebody else lay it out for us. The only way, if we are going to move to a better world, which I have described on many occasions, I don't think that's going to happen for a very long time. I think we're going to have to go to hell first. But if it is going to happen, people need to take responsibility and take action. So because of the horrendous effect it's having on me, I have made the heartbreaking decision to make big changes in my life with regard to who I associate with. Because I can only mainly be around people now who are forming that smaller group, that smaller clique of people who are displaying values of courageousness, courage. Basically, courage, that's all that's required, actually. Courage, fortitude, and integrity. It's the only way that I'm able to give myself the best chance of, I'm not going to say flourishing, because who's flourishing at the moment, but continuing to provide a positive value to the world. I can only do that, and I fully intend to, but I can only do that without the downward and negative pull of many people, whether I know them or not. So that's where I am right now in my experience at this point in my life, at this point in time. So I wanted to ask anyone who's watching this video, is your experience similar? Please comment below and let me know if what I'm saying resonates with you. Have you cut ties with anybody? What do you make of human morality? How would you judge this moment in time? And how do you think history will judge society right now? Please do let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to The Imperfect Individual if you've not already. And I will be back soon with another video. All right, bye-bye.